We're being dominated.
Snatching. You either love it because you went through hell and back to get good at it, or you hate it because it's hard, scary, and a little painful sometimes. For me, it's been the utter bane of my existence for my now nearly 3-year journey into Olympic weightlifting. Now, why is that, you might be pondering? Well, it's because I kind of sucked at them. Despite my not being the most technically proficient at this highly technical lift, I was able to make decent progress for quite a while despite the many mistakes I was making in not only execution, but programming and mentality. This was until I hit a brick wall after my first 100 kilo snatch during my first year of weightlifting. After that point, it would be entire months without making any meaningful progress, with at best maybe a 2.5 to 5 kilo PR on the entire year. At the same time, my clean and jerk seeing 10 to 20 kilo jumps. Such an experience of going from a hot shot to a chump was humbling to say the least. And it was this year I really had to take a step back and honestly ask myself, what the hell am I doing wrong? It was after careful analysis I boiled it down to 3 mistakes I was making. And once I got them figured out and started taking the proper steps to address these, I broke free of the snatch purgatory I was trapped in for so long. I am by no means a pro at weightlifting, so take my advice with a grain of salt. But if you are stuck in a similar position to myself or at one point were, let this video serve as food for thought to perhaps sit down if you're unsatisfied with your progress in the snatch and take a similar reflection as things you could brush up on. Now, without any further preamble, let me share the 3 biggest mistakes that were halting my progress in the snatch. Mistake number 1, trying to mimic professional weightlifters. Now, everyone sources their inspiration from somewhere. For me, it was watching Clarence Kennedy and Gabriel Crane, 2 lifelong killers in the sport and pillars of the community, absolutely demolish the Olympic lifts, putting well over at the time what was near my max deadlift over their heads with pure ease. I had never seen anything this powerful and sick looking before in my life, and when I tell you I was hooked immediately, I was hooked. Even though I had no clue what I was watching, just hearing the slap of the feet that sounded like cannons and the dropping of the barbells that sounded like nukes going off, I just couldn't help but fall in love with it. And this would prove to be a blessing and a curse.
Nice.
I just couldn't help but fall in love with it. And it was in this trying to copy the speed and technique of these pros, something they had been working towards their entire lives, led me to make countless mistakes. From trying to pull the bar off the floor too fast and losing connection, to receiving the bar too fast and losing connection. It was a bad deal, through and through. On top of this, it led me to draw unrealistic comparisons of progress. Having had a basis in strength training before starting weightlifting, I would quite often feel like I wasn't making enough progress in these lifts, which take very long to not only learn but get good at, something which really can't be said for traditional power lifts. And I blame it on this lack of humility and starting at square one, which kept me from appreciating the small accomplishments and learning the lifts until much later on, like being able to overhead squat without shaking, or even being comfortable in pulling the bar off the floor correctly. Now for mistake number 2, which is power snatching everything. Because of these compounding bad habits I picked up when I first started learning, I began the horrible tradition of powering everything. If I could just avoid having to catch in the squat, where it would truly be a miracle if I was able to make the lift due to my lack of confidence there in the bottom. This nasty habit would lead to my overpulling of the bar, and when the weights got heavy enough, the bar crashing down on me would completely screw up my timing and catching the bounce. Only training snatches in their power variant made my bottom position confidence even worse over time, as the lift came down to complete chance with me having very little skill in comfortably receiving heavy weights in a squat. This style of powering everything gave me some gnarly looking PRs in my early days, and would pretty much be the case until I made a concerted effort into full snatching, and now they have felt like butter. And for mistake number 3, the final mistake, it is consistency and focus. Perhaps the culmination of everything said above, my lack of consistency and focusing on things to work on in my snatch was a huge cause for my slow progress. It seems like an easy fix in hindsight, but getting better at snatching just means you gotta snatch more. But realize what works for you and what doesn't. Example of this was my trying to follow too closely to the Russian style stomp when receiving the bar at the bottom. I took this way too far, and it only hindered my already poor skill at receiving the bar at the bottom due to my lack of connection. Instead, I switched to the Chinese style slide technique, and the change was almost immediately in the amount and quality of made lifts. I was also far too heavily focused on how fast I was able to pull the bar initially off the floor, instead of the speed of the turnover, which is the part that really you should focus on. When I worked on my precision of getting the bar just fast enough off the ground, then really hammering the second pull under, I was in it to win it, let me tell you.